A very good afternoon. I hope you found the Modern Marketer Perspective session useful and will be able to apply the guiding principles our marketers shared in your business as well. So it gives me great pleasure to be back here to announce the launch of our playbook, Modern Marketer's Guide to MarTech Maturity, an initiative by our AMP community of leaders who are a part of the MarTech Council and who have worked closely with us to bring out an industry-led MarTech playbook to assist modern marketers. So, as we all know, technology has transformed marketing, which historically was a creative discipline. It is beginning to now play a huge role, and more so in current times, in aiding marketers interact with customers, understand their purchase preferences, and engage with them one-on-one. We had rolled out an industry-wide survey to understand MarTech maturity across organizations and to provide primary insights for our playbook. This survey was rolled out across 100 plus organizations, and we got some extremely interesting insights, which I'm going to share with you here. It said 40% of organizations are at a nascent stage in MarTech capabilities, whilst 30% are at an emerging level and are even enabling enterprise level coordination to set standards and best practices in MarTech. 80% of businesses in e-commerce and 50% in BFSI are already at an emerging level of MarTech capabilities and are now setting benchmarks as early adopters versus those at a nascent stage. 87% expect spending on MarTech to increase in the next 5 years. 44% said they have a strong digital business culture cultivated amongst employees. And 32% said that they have begun to use MarTech to measure revenue and profitability. These are great indicators to see that many organizations in India have kickstarted the MarTech journey, and there are several use cases being made available on how MarTech stacks are being utilized. There are, of course, a few critical success factors to ensure success of any MarTech investment. A good starting point is the organization strategy and leadership alignment on the same. MarTech stack is a reflection of how robust the organization vision is, the organization strategy is, and how well aligned the management is to that vision. Building the stack is not a one-time activity. It requires active management to understand the gaps, to add new technology and remove old ones because it's evolving extremely fast. So to keep it refreshed is very crucial. And lastly, of course, creating a data-driven culture, getting people completely ready to work with MarTech stacks and to think data is extremely essential. So with that as a background, the MarTech playbook attempts to decode the changing transformation of marketing today and the increasing role technology plays. It also showcases MarTech maturity frameworks, which are based on the study, which you heard some data and insights from, are also an integral part of the playbook, which have been used to arrive at MarTech maturity models, which can help organizations advance in their MarTech journey. It also includes ways to assess MarTech stacks, to select right MarTech stacks, and to ensure an element of governance to make sure that the investments made in MarTech are effective and well utilized. So to help unveil the playbook, I have with me Neeraj Sangani, COO, Hansa Equity, who is our knowledge partner for the Modern Marketer's Guide to MarTech Maturity. And with joining him is Namrata Balwani, who is our MMA MarTech advisor and extremely engaged as a practitioner in showcasing ways to navigate the MarTech journey and helping the body enable the path effectively. So, whilst you would listen in to Neeraj and Namrata, who will help you decode the playbook and will share their views on building effective MarTech stacks as well as on ensuring you better utilize the MarTech investments made, do not forget to download a copy of your MarTech playbook from the resources section in the platform and be the first few to get access to a knowledge repository on MarTech Maturity and ensure it helps you up and you ensure that you can apply the same in your business and benefit immensely from it. I hope you enjoy going through the playbook and feel free to write into us for any queries you may have about it. Thank you and enjoy the session.
Thank you, Monica, for that introduction. I'm very excited to talk about this playbook because it's really going to define a lot of things that we talk about in marketing today. And let's start by looking at how marketing has evolved. When I was in marketing or when I started my career, there was a lot of work we still did manually, a lot of data that we brought out, put them into Excel sheets. In fact, I started when there was a predecessor of Excel, so you know how old I am. And a lot of that has changed today. Everything that you do today is increasingly automated. There's a lot of technology behind data. You don't need to crunch it manually. But let's look at what's marketing going to be like in 2030. Of course, it's still going to be about understanding consumer behavior, insights, what's the emotion that we are tapping into, how is our product relevant for that customer. But when it comes to actually doing all this, data is going to be at the heart of it. And that's where a lot of marketers who today might still not be as data driven are going to be entirely in a situation where data is the heart of everything. And to back that up, you would need technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning to make sense of all this tsunami of data that keeps hitting us on a daily basis. Some of the other things that I think, when I think ahead of looking at a marketer of 2030, is that everything is going to be so driven by technology that we'll probably have to actively remember that emotion is still a part of marketing. Everything is not only about technology, but that's certainly how things are going to evolve. And given that, let's look at what are some of the emerging trends in MarTech adoption. So Neeraj, what's your point of view on that?
Hi, Namrata. Thanks. Basically, when you spoke about marketers of 2030, basically the point I would like to bring up front is, as you also mentioned, that data is going to drive marketing. And the point here is it has to be a combination of behavioral sciences and data sciences. And the left brain and the right brain of a marketer has to really work in good sync to ensure that we really crack this marketing code and hence the MarTech code going forward. We've done an extensive study as part of this playbook going forward in the context of what are the emerging trends. And I think the key focus of this survey and the study was India. And sometimes we might feel that, we're not part of the US or the European market in terms of how fast things have evolved and the levels of personalization and the levels of MarTech maturity that most other players have accomplished. But I think we're getting there in India and we're getting there pretty quickly. What I will do now is actually share some of the data points that have come out and which are pretty encouraging from an India point of view. And we can have a look at those numbers and they tell a story, right? Numbers always do tell a story, and the story, maybe we like it or sometimes we might not like it. But the integration between technology and marketing, I think more than 70% of the audience of marketers, and this is a set of 125 plus CMOs, CTOs, CDOs talking about the survey and talking about MarTech, and as natural as it can get. And this survey really pointed out that to get to trends, I think we need to understand the top impediments that prevent organizations from achieving their business goals. And almost, as I said, 70% of them believe that the biggest impediment in achieving business goals is the integration between technology and marketing. With the increasing role of marketing or role of technology in marketing, there is a realization that there needs to be a much more collaborative attempt. Historically, we've known that technology operates and the IT team operates in a silo and marketing operates in a silo. But more and more organizations today realize the need for a much more collaborative efforts and all the teams that need to come together to make this happen. The second most important point, which came through very, very clearly, was a set of clear use cases from a marketing technology perspective. Everybody knows there are global tech players who are selling their suite of products, and at the other end, there is a set of users. And how do you make most sense where you get the marketing return on investment? I think that is a big, big challenge. How do you develop clear cut use cases to drive marketing ROI? The third biggest challenge, and I think this is often the most underreported or hardly ever spoken about aspect of marketing technology, uh, the skill set, the training required to get marketeers up to speed. Marketeers need not be coders. Marketeers need not be ID folks, but they need to understand the tools that they're going to be using. They need to understand how well a program or a use case can be executed with the use of that tool. And then they need to have people in their team who understand that perspective. This is a big challenge in the country, and I think it's a global challenge because we work with a lot of international brands actually working out of India, but it's a big, big challenge. Skill set at the end of partners, service providers, and marketeers and marketing organizations, getting the right skill set, upskilling them for MarTech needs, big challenge. Then how do you kind of get the optimal structure to unlock value from new MarTech? We know 8,000 plus tools available in the marketplace. Every second day, there's a new tool that is supposedly the magic wand, which will change marketing, which will personalize marketing. But how is it actually going to unfold? Most people do not know or do not understand how to optimize and how to structure those unlocking of marketing tools. The most important piece, which then follows, is the identification of the technology that is going to be used. More than 40% of the people in India are actually saying they find it very difficult to identify marketing technologies that they need to use to meet their business goals. And it's a big number that we are looking at. So how do marketing technology players, service providers, and other vendors come together, and experts come together and help marketing organizations bridge this gap? Is another big impediment in terms of meeting those business goals. I spoke a lot about collaboration at the beginning, so I'm not going to spend any time on collaboration, but I think for me, collaboration beats sophistication any day. I'd rather go with a tool which is less sophisticated, but helps me collaborate, gets things done faster, and makes life easier for marketers. Any day I would go for that kind of a tool. The second part that we're talking about is the emerging trends, as you spoke about, from MarTech perspective. Everybody's getting too much into wearables, Internet of Things, new technologies that are coming in, and how effectively and how dramatically they can be used to change things in real time. But I think some of the key areas of improvement, and just getting down to the brass tacks, getting down to the fundamentals of our business, the ease of use of MarTech tools. When MarTech tools are paraded or MarTech players are wooing the brand organizations to buy certain set of tools, what is the understanding of the ease of use? What will it take to make those tools operational? Are the data structures, are the organizational structures ready to use those tools impactfully and effectively? It's a big challenge. 60%, more than 60% of the people are saying this is the biggest impediment or area of improvement that they are looking at. Integration with other technology. New technology, somebody came, sold it, set of people bought it. How do you integrate it with the entire universe? It's particularly more difficult for legacy companies and organizations which have been around for a very long time, because in my experience, I've seen like 3 CRM systems operating within one company and 3 very different systems not talking to each other. So how do you put that piece together, integrate all the technology pieces that have been bought piecemeal over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and maybe over the last 5, 6, 8 months also? And how do you get them to talk to each other to, come up with a more collaborative and meaningful approach? Personalization, customization, everybody's talking about that, seems to be the buzz. Hyper personalization, hyper localization, everybody's going hyper on those words. I won't get into the detail, but yes, customer experience, use of data, use of analytics, ability to automate the processes, AI and ML, you already spoke about, Namrata, at the beginning. And the last but not the least, and this is now becoming top drawer. In fact, it never used to feature in the India MarTech horizon, data compliance and data privacy. I think people are getting more and more conscious. People are getting spooked. So the level to which personalization can be done, the level to which data can be used by other partners, other vendors, uh, all of these are now becoming issues as far as the Indian market is concerned. Uh, as we spoke, the top emerging trends, and to keep it simple and not get lost in the technology jargon as we speak. And I think demystifying MarTech is the key objective partners like us carry, people like you carry in the marketplace, not get lost that marketing technology is not the be all and end all of marketing. It's just an enabler. But how do you use automated decision making? How do you get real time decision making? How do you do event based, trigger based campaigns? How do you do generative content creation? Multimodal experiences, or use of evolution of voice technology, AR, VR, NLP, programmatic, the Internet of Things and wearables. I think these are some of the key emerging trends which are really going to define the way MarTech in India is going to evolve over the next 1 or 2 years.
All right. Thanks for that, Neeraj. That was a really comprehensive look at what are the emerging trends in MarTech, what are marketers in India feeling, and let's also now look at how can you assess what your MarTech maturity is in an organization, and once you assess that, how can you decide or select the right tool that's going to fit within your organization and also be effective. So just like you said, it's not about the shiny new object. It's very much about creating or selecting a tool that meets certain goals. So how do you start with that? And a lot of that will be covered in our guide. But I think to start with, when you assess MarTech maturity, you have to look at where you are currently. And that comes from the standpoint of customer, of data, of analytics, of your digital setup. What's your technology maturity? How do you implement campaigns? These are all the ways in which you would first start by doing an assessment. And you would look at, for example, is your data connected? Is it disparate? Is it connected in certain parts? And if it's only certain parts, then what are the other parts that are relevant? So there's a whole bunch of questions that you would need to answer, based on which you could say, this is where I am today as a marketing organization. And based on my business goal, this is where I want to go. So the most crucial part of all of this is your business goal. It is not important to start thinking tools or to start thinking, I want to send emails or I want to do personalization. So those are coming much later in your assessment. The first thing you have to understand is, what is your business goal? What's the objective that you want to achieve? Then you're going to do this assessment on all these various parameters. You're also going to look at how connected your marketing organization is to the rest of the company, because marketing doesn't function in a silo. Everything from operations to sales, R&D, finance, these are all things that come together to deliver the right experience for customers today. And then you're also probably going to look at what kind of best practices exist in the market. What do other people do? But I think one of the biggest starting points after looking at your business objective is to say, what is it that I'm going to achieve as an end result? So as a result of my assessment, this is where I am, but where do I want to go? Do I want a connected experience because my customers are not able to get a certain aspect? Because I'm pretty sure that in most organizations, plenty of things are being taken care of. So if you start looking at everything at a very macro level, it might become a bit difficult to start to pin down exactly what you want to do from a technology perspective. So you would probably have to look at, am I doing acquisition well? Am I doing retention well? Am I able to give my customer the right kind of information at the right kind of time, either enable them to buy better, either enable them to understand my products and brands better? So once you start looking at various kinds of use cases, you are then going to have a much better idea of where is this data going to come from, where is this data currently, and therefore, when we improve this and we do a long-term let's say, outlook on customer experience, what is the end result going to be as a result of doing all this? How do we move the customer and how do we move our revenue goals as a result of implementing this? And that's why you're going to derive some understanding of what the tool is going to do for you. The other thing that you need to do after that is also to say that, like Neeraj mentioned earlier, is about legacy companies having tools that do not integrate. Or if you're starting out as a digital company, obviously you're going to adopt a tool that's going to give you a very high level of data management capability, because when everything is digital, it's all automated decisioning that happens at the end of the day. It's really important to look at what team is going to handle this and what skill sets you need, because you can buy a Ferrari, but if you don't have anyone who knows how to drive it, it's going to be a failure in any case. And not everyone can drive a Ferrari. So as you do this entire assessment, as you understand how to select your tool, you have to think about who are the people who are going to run the show and make this happen. We do have some tips in our playbook around that, so do download it and take a look. And I'm quite clear that it's going to be very helpful for you. At the end of the day, it's about really then saying that if I'm at a nascent stage or if I'm at an initial stage, how do I get to an emerging stage, or how do I get to the final, the holy grail, which is a connected stage? And keep in mind that not all organizations have this ready. You're always going to be in a process of constantly moving, even when you're connected. Technology evolves, data evolves, customers evolve. So you're always going to be implementing enhancements to something like this. So there's no stage at which this just stops. It's just going to be part of how we do marketing. I'm going to hand it back to Neeraj now to talk about the fact that after doing all this assessment, you're going to have what all of us are faced with, the paradox of choice. And what do you do about that?
Thanks, Namrata. It's a genuine problem out in the market at this point of time. And the basic difference and the fundamental difference in my mind, and this is over the years, that organizations were built around products and around services, and the customer came in later into this whole scheme of things. But in the technology first companies today and the e-commerce companies today, which are driving the entire customer experience piece single-handedly at this point of time, the biggest change is that the founders or the guys who are coming up with these new ideas are very good technologists themselves, and they have a very astute marketing brain. And now that's what you're fighting in the marketplace. And they are all in their 30s or early 30s, and some of them much younger than that. So then how do large organizations and senior marketing folks with having teams of 50 plus people, some doing digital, some doing media buying, some doing content creation, some doing outdoors, above the line, below the line, how do you bring it all together? And that's the big challenge that a lot of these organizations are facing. And of course, when you talk of MarTech and of course you talk of products, you have to work very closely with the technology team and the digital teams, because as we spoke early on in our conversation, the shiny object syndrome, as I kind of refer to, and the new technology, everybody, any marketer you go to. In fact, I face this almost every second day whenever I'm talking to a new organization, I'm trying to pitch our services. What is it that you do new? And everything, every day new things are happening, but is it what is required for your customer journey? Is it what is required for your organization and the way you are structured right now? Probably the answer is no. But then we are living in different times, and everybody wants to really move fast, and different organizations operate at a very different level of maturity, and they are at very different stages in their marketing journey. And businesses in the same industry, and there's a chalk and cheese difference in the manner in which they are structured, the way they operate, the way they run their businesses. And then you try to impose a MarTech platform or a MarTech technology solution, which is adopted by the best in the world, because that's what I want. But is it going to work for you? So what's your customer strategy? What's your analytics, and what's your data structure strategy? What is your digital experience, UI, UX approach? How is technology at the back end in your organization? Is it integrated seamlessly? Do you have a customer single view? Are you creating those journeys? Today, e-commerce has evolved into the space where We talk of micro moment marketing. Now automation allows you to do micro moment marketing. I put something in my cart, I'm not buying something, I'm going to exit, and I get an offer in the next 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes, and me to buy that. And that's the example a lot of organizations keep quoting to us. Oh, we want to get there, but getting there is a journey. It's not going to happen overnight, and you cannot just keep on buying tools which you think will help you get there. So there's a huge amount of technology and tools available. It is very easy to get tempted to go ahead with a tool which kind of in your mind solves a very specific problem, and in the organization will make you really look good and shine out and say, man, this guy's changed the way marketing automation is done in the organization. A common mistake I see being made all the time is, buying individually siloed tools that really do not talk to each other. They do not integrate. They do not collaborate. And, in the garb of innovation, a lot of collaboration is lost. A lot of customer experience is lost. The connected customer experience just falls apart. And it's a constant organizational change that everybody needs to undertake as a journey, actually, to make this happen. While there could be many more reasons for this trap of the shiny new object that is around, the result is almost always a set of disparate, high value tools, not integrated with each other, overlapping in features, limited features, you are having to plug and play something else. All kinds of issues come up. So I think the key parameters, and I think the key issues, key imperatives, which you kind of put together at the beginning itself, was start with a strategy, start with a customer, a business strategy, a leadership alignment, assessing the current MarTech maturity of it. And then when you're specifically picking up a tool, what is it that you need to be aware of? And I think very clearly, and I just wanted to touch upon this subject, and I'll share a screen with you right now, which will kind of explain what I'm trying to say here very clearly. And this is also the part of the playbook that we're talking about, which really highlights what is happening in the marketplace at this point of time. Aligning MarTech purchase to a mandate. And how does one go about assessing a new tool? Does the tool have the necessary functionalities? Are the functionalities present in any of the tools already available? 9 out of 10 times, and this is another big mistake. A lot of organizations keep buying tools without knowing what they have already bought in the past, and then trying to align their strategy in that context. Are the functionalities that you're looking for already available? These are easy metrics to check. How do you evaluate the performance of the tool? What is the expected benefit versus the cost? Which teams will be using it? In my experience, repeatedly, whenever organizations and large organizations are buying tools, the typical method which is kind of undertaken these days is, let me talk to the technology head of so-and-so company. They bought this tool 6 months back. That guy has invested in $1 million tool already. How often is he going to say, sorry, buddy, it's not working for me? So it's your own journey. You need to figure out which tool is essential for you. Surely you can take feedback from other organizations, other service partners and colleagues, but ultimately you are signing the check. And before you sign that check, you really need to be very certain about what you're going to buy. Which teams will be using? Do you have the competency within the organization? Are you going to outsource it? What is the cost of outsourcing? Typically big problem at the CXO level is the tool is bought, but then the managed service cost of the tool, it's at a norm, it's 3x of the cost of the tool. Then that's not been already accounted for or budgeted for in a lot of cases. How do you make all these decisions, put it together, pick the right tools, and just kind of distill your approach from a customer journey funnel and ensure that you just buy the right set of tools? It's a very difficult journey. It's a journey with most people will understand with experience, but The starting step is customer first, business objective first, and then your own understanding of your business and your own team's capabilities of making those choices and ability to make a success out of the tools that you purchase. I think these are some of the key things that will drive decision making or making choices from a MarTech perspective.
Thanks, Neeraj. Certainly insightful. It's absolutely essential to get it right and not chase after the latest technology that appears in front of you, and a lot of excellent points made by you. And coming to now saying that now that we have a tool, we've invested in the technology, we've got probably managed services behind it, we've budgeted for it, now what? It's absolutely crucial to have collaboration across departments. You would have some sort of champion and leadership who is a sponsor, who understands how this works, who knows why this needs to be done. And once you've already got it, there's the entire team that needs to buy into the same vision. So I wouldn't say, and a lot of times I find where this fails is where it's a lot of top down. Somebody at the top decided something, invested in a tool, and now has told the team, okay, the tool is here, now start using it. And I don't think that that's the best way to get value, because the team does not understand why they need to change the way they work, or what is the ultimate benefit of them doing something new. Because at the end of the day, there's a huge training phase, a learning phase, during which time some of the existing stuff you do has to be unlearned, and you have to learn how to do new things. So this collaboration is important because the vision has to be co-opted through the entire organization. Everyone needs to understand why we're doing this. And at the end of it, what is going to happen once we make this happen? So when you look at digital transformation, and in my past experience, the way I did that for retail organizations, even the frontline employee at the retail outlet who is actually attending to a customer, who carries around maybe an iPad to input information, to find something, needs to understand the value of why they are doing that. What is the end goal behind it? And so this collaboration between at all levels, sorry, but not between, but at all levels of the organization is absolutely crucial to derive success, because technology ultimately can contribute probably 20% of change. 80% of change has to come from people actively understanding why they need to do something and then actually doing it. Some of the things that are also helpful in this case is to have collaboration internally. Just as you want a single view of the customer, you want a single view internally, right, of an organization. It's not about silos like marketing and finance and ops. It's about the entire chain, and saying, for a connected customer experience, every person in our company performs this particular role, and people understand that. And the other thing that I've also noticed is that you need to have an active level of retraining many times, because people get trained initially, but they may not be using all the features. You might find after 6 months that the features that are actively being used are probably 20% of what the tool can actually do for you. And you might have to do a retraining exercise, and you need to keep those things in mind also, and do regular audits to understand what are the things that people are maybe missing out on, or that they need to understand how to use better. Going through all our discussion and listening to all of this, I hope you're excited about what the playbook is going to bring for you. It's a very, very unique product. A lot of the information in the playbook has not been seen before in this kind of format in the market. And you would find that it's very, very practical. It's not only about theory. It gives you a very clear idea of how marketers assess their maturity today in India, and how can you use this to effectively create a playbook for yourself, for your own organization, whether it's in terms of technology, in terms of people, in terms of data. It's rich with insight. And Neeraj, I think, is just going to sum it up with some words from his side. But overall, I hope you really enjoy and download the playbook and go through it. Thanks. Over to you, Neeraj.
Thanks, Namrata. So the MarTech playbook will not help you get to Mars. The MarTech playbook will certainly help you run your business much better. And I think it has been put together painstakingly over the last couple of months. The Modern Marketer's Guide to Marketing Maturity, in my opinion, is an insight, fact, action-based playbook. A huge amount of experience that even Hansa's Equities gathered over the last 14 years in this business, working very closely with the technology teams of most of the large Indian organizations across industries, and working on large implementation projects. I think we put all the brains to good use in this. As Namrata mentioned, putting together a very practical guide to modern marketing from a marketing maturity and MarTech perspective that we're talking about. It not only highlights the frameworks which are required to evaluate the role of different tools at different stages of evolution, but it kind of also emphasizes on the need to get the business strategy right, to get the basics, the customer success, the customer first attitude right, and just to ensure that the architecture and the solutioning is complete before you really jump into taking a MarTech solution decision. It's been a collaborative effort with the MMA MarTech Council, really contributing big time across the world to bring intelligence into this playbook. And I thank the MMA team for this initiative which they've taken. I'm really looking forward to, and I hope that this book actually really helps a lot of marketers who are in the initial phases, the nascent phases, and people who are, I think 50% of India is somewhere in between at this point of time. They have some tools, they're trying to figure out some strategies, but it really will help a lot of them put together their minds and their MarTech stack for the next couple of years at least. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.